So in this video, we're going to be looking at yet another tool to find derivatives quickly, and that is going to be the quotient rule. This is just going to be another thing you're going to have to commit to memory, like our power rule, our product rule. The quotient rule is something you'll be using a lot, so it's important that you remember it and know how to use it. So it looks something a little more similar to our product rule here, where we're seeing we have two components for our function, right? We see that our h of x is some f divided by some g. And so then our h prime of x, the derivative of this function, is going to be g. This top looks a little similar to our product rule, but there are some differences here. It's g times f prime minus f times g prime divided by g squared. So it is a bit longer, a bit more stuff to memorize here compared to our product rule or our power rule, but there is a bit of a mnemonic device or a little song almost that can be used in order to remember this, at least in the beginning. And it goes low d high minus high d low, square the bottom, and off we go. I know it's a bit silly, but it'll help you remember it. So when we're saying low d high minus high d low, low is referring to the denominator. So we write low d high, the derivative of the high, or the numerator, the upper thing, minus high d low. So f, the numerator, times the derivative of low, the denominator. And then square the bottom, and off we go. So we divide by the square of our denominator. So that is low d high minus high d low divided by square the bottom, and off we go. So you can use that little trick there to memorize or commit this to memory. I'm sure as you do it more, you won't really need the song, but I do know some students that to this day will sing that song in their head or mouth the words during an exam. So, if it helps, you can do that too. But let's look at some problems here then before we move on, just so we can see how we can use the quotient rule. So if we are given our function here, h of x, and that is going to be equal to 2x squared divided by 3x plus 1. Here we can see that this is in that form of f over g, so we will be using our quotient rule here. So if you remember, that's low d high minus high d low, square the bottom, and off we go. So if we want to use the derivative h prime of our x, low d high, right? What is the derivative of, or we can do it this way, right? Low, which is 3x plus 1, times d high, the derivative of our numerator here. The derivative here, we're going to have to use our product rule, or rather, we're going to have to use our power rule. So we bring the 2 over, so this is going to give us 4x minus 2x squared times 3. Again, the derivative of our denominator here. It's low d high minus high d low, square the bottom, and off we go. There's the square at the bottom. So now we can simplify this by first distributing this 4x squared as well as this, this 3 over here. And that's just some basic algebra, so I won't show all the work there, but once we simplify our numerator, we're left with 12x squared plus 4x minus 6x squared divided by 3x plus 1 whole squared, which is going to be equal to 6x squared plus 4x. And we're allowed to just leave this as it is. Again, if you would like, you can distribute, or you can fill out this square here, but we can just leave this, our answer, in this form as well. So this is going to be our derivative using the quotient rule. All right, looking at another example, let's say we have our h of x equals sine of x over x squared. What is the derivative here? So again, feel free to pause the video and give this problem a shot yourself, but we can always start by, if we wanted to, like we were doing with our product rule, we can write out each of the components. We know that this here is our f, this is our g, that looks like 3, sorry. This here can be the f, and this can be the g. So if we wanted to, we could write f is sine of x, g is x squared, so our f prime and our g prime, if we find those out, we can then go on. So our f prime here, the derivative of sine x, we know to be cosine x. The derivative of x squared we know is 2x. So we can write our h prime of x. Remember, low d high minus high d low, square the bottom, and off we go. Low, that is x squared, d high minus high d low, square the bottom, x squared is x to the fourth. And off we go. So we can see that simplifying this a little bit, we can try to, well, we can leave this as this is, but we can also simplify by canceling out an x. And this will give us an answer of x cosine x minus 2 sine x over x to the third. So here we just simply canceled out, an x. And so yeah, we can do that, leaving us with this as our derivative. All right, let's look at another example. We're given a function h of x is equal to e to the x over x plus 1. Here, this would be our f, and this would be our g. So we can continue as we would with any other problem using our quotient rule. For h prime of x, well, really, again, we can just start, if we want, with our f being e to the x, g being x plus 1, giving us f prime is just e to the x. We know the derivative of e to the x is just e to the x, and g prime here is just 1. So we can then go on to find our h prime of x by plugging this in. Right, this would end up just being e to the x times our x plus 1 minus e to the x times 1 divided by x plus 1 squared. This would just give us, again, we can take an e to the x as a common term out of in our numerator here, giving us e to the x times x plus 1 minus 1 divided by our x plus 1 squared. Again, here the minus 1 and the plus 1 here would cancel out, leaving us with an answer of e to the x times x divided by x plus 1 squared. So this would be our answer to this problem. Right, so if we want to look at one more problem, we're given y is equal to ln of x over x. We can identify our f here is ln x, our g is just x. So our f prime, we know the derivative of ln x. We remember this from a former video, right? So hopefully you committed this to memory, and we remember that this is just 1 over x, and the derivative of x, so our g prime, is just 1. So now we can use our low d high minus high d low, square the bottom off to go, if we want to use that, to find our the y prime. Here, our derivative is just going to be equal to 1 over x, right, times x minus ln of x times 1, square the bottom, that's x squared. So we can see that 1 over x times x cancels out to be 1. Ln of x times 1 is just ln of x. So this gives us 1 minus ln x divided by x squared. And that is going to be our answer. So this is really just how you proceed with any of our quotient rule problems. just be just you just have to be comfortable with your algebra here, remembering the different derivatives in order to find our f prime and our g prime. So again, remember your product rules, your power rules, the special derivatives that we learned in a former video. Keeping those in mind, you should be able to solve really any quotient rule problem as long as you're careful. Don't mix up your terms. But anyway, that brings us to the end of this video. Hopefully you found it useful. If you did, please show your support by liking and subscribing. Leave in the comments any videos you'd like to see in the future and any questions that you may have, and I'll see you in the next one.